Picture this. You're a Russian pilot, flying deep into NATO airspace, thinking you're invisible. No transponders, no flight plan, complete radio silence. Then suddenly, two of the world's most advanced stealth fighters appear on your wings. What happens next will shock you. On August 13th, something unprecedented happened over the Baltic Sea. For the first time ever, Italian F-35 Lightning IIs scrambled from Estonia's Amari airbase to intercept Russian Su-24 and Su-27 fighters violating NATO airspace. But this wasn't just another routine intercept. This was a generational clash between old Soviet-era jets and cutting-edge fifth-generation technology. Here's what makes this incident terrifying for Russia. These Italian F-35s weren't even supposed to be there. They were deployed as part of NATO's quick reaction alert posture. Jets that sit ready 24/7, pilots strapped in, engines warm, waiting for exactly this moment. According to Army recognition, this marked the first time Italian F-35s had ever operated in the Baltic theater. But here's the kicker. This was the second incident in just days. Hungarian Gripen jets had been forced into action against Russian threats just 48 hours earlier. Russia isn't just testing NATO anymore. They're escalating. And NATO's response was about to send a message Putin never saw coming. Now, if you're expecting explosions and dogfights, hold that thought. NATO is far too smart to start World War III over airspace violations. But what they did next was arguably more devastating than any missile strike. They demonstrated something that should terrify every Russian pilot: complete technological superiority. The Russian jets were flying dark, no transponders, no flight plans, completely off the grid. This wasn't an accident. When you're conducting espionage missions, you don't want anyone tracking your every move. Transponders allow air traffic controllers to detect and monitor aircraft. Flight plans reveal your intentions. Russia deliberately omitted both because they were up to something they didn't want the world to see. But here's what Putin didn't count on. NATO's quick reaction alert system is designed for exactly these scenarios. According to Forces News, QRA maintains a state of readiness and modus operandi of air defense 24 hours a day. These aren't just pilots on standby. These are the first line of defense against incoming threats, ready to engage targets actively trying to harm NATO territory. The moment those Russian jets crossed into NATO airspace, they triggered a response that would expose just how outmatched they really were. The Italian F-35s took off and flew within interception range of the Russian fighters. And then something predictable happened. The Russian pilots did what they always do when confronted by superior technology. They ran. But what if they hadn't run? What if this had escalated into actual combat? The outcome would have been devastating for Russia, and here's why. The F-35 Lightning II isn't just another fighter jet, it's a technological revolution wrapped in stealth coating. Built by the United States to replace aging F-16s and A-10 Thunderbolts, the F-35 represents everything modern warfare has evolved into. With engines generating 43,000 pounds of thrust, it screams through the sky at Mach 1.6. Its range of over 1,350 miles means it can hunt down targets and still have fuel to spare. With aerial refueling, these jets can stay airborne indefinitely. At a 50,000-foot ceiling, F-35s operate in a realm where most aircraft can't even reach them. But it's the weapons package that makes them truly lethal. The M61A2 Vulcan cannon fires 6,000 rounds per minute, though each jet carries only 180 rounds. Every single one counts. AIM 120 AMRAAMs for beyond visual range kills. AIM 9X Sidewinders for close combat. And GBU-31 Joint Direct Attack munitions that can turn any target into rubble. Now let's talk about what Russia brought to this potential fight. The Su-24 Fencer, a Soviet-era attack jet that first flew in 1975. Even the upgraded Su-24M from 1983 is ancient by modern standards. This fourth-generation fighter tops out at Mach 1, a full 0.6 Mach slower than the F-35. With a range of just 652 miles, it's not escaping anything. The Su-24 can carry nuclear weapons, but that's useless in air-to-air combat. Its Vimpel R-60 missiles and Kh-23 guided munitions are decent, but here's the problem: you can't hit what you can't see. And against an F-35 stealth capabilities, the Su-24 might as well be firing blind. The Su-27 presents a more interesting challenge. This 1984 fourth-generation fighter was revolutionary for its time, setting over 40 world records for speed and altitude. It can hit Mach 2, faster than the F-35, and has an impressive 2,193-mile range. Its 30mm cannon outguns the F-35's 20mm weapon, and loaded with Vimpel R-73 and R-27 missiles, it's genuinely dangerous. Key Aero even suggests the Su-27 is maneuverable enough to compete with some fifth-generation fighters. On paper, this looks like a fair fight. But paper specifications don't win dogfights. Technology does. The Italian F-35 Lightning II offers a generational leap in capability. Its stealth profile, advanced radar and electro-optical sensors, and network data sharing capacity allow it to detect, classify, and track multiple threats well before being detected in return. That generational leap is exactly why F-35s are now the backbone of NATO's air policing mission. According to the UK Defense Journal, NATO's statement on the Russian intercept emphasized how the air policing mission protects alliance airspace while reassuring members like Estonia who don't have their own fighter jets. But here's what makes this mission truly remarkable: it's not new. NATO created the air policing mission in 1961 at the height of the Cold War. For over 60 years, this defensive umbrella has protected European skies. As NATO explains, safeguarding the integrity of airspace is a permanent peacetime task contributing to NATO's collective defense. The mission extends beyond military threats too. These same jets provide support to civilian aircraft in distress, assist with communication failures, and maintain the safety of European airspace. What happened on August 13th was the system working exactly as designed. But now we need to address the elephant in the room. What does this really mean? The Economic Times asked a provocative question in their headline: World War III beginning? While that might seem like sensationalism, the answer is more complex than you might think. No, World War III isn't beginning in the traditional sense of bombs falling and cities burning. But consider this: Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov recently told the Terra Scientia National Educational Youth Forum that many political scientists, academics, and experts seriously argue that a third world war is not just unavoidable, but is already underway in new forms. Lavrov traced this new form of world war back to 1999, citing Western actions in Yugoslavia, Iraq, Libya, and Syria. While this is clearly Russian propaganda, the fact that Russia's top diplomat is openly discussing World War III suggests the Kremlin believes global conflict is either inevitable or already happening. The Week magazine makes a compelling case that we might already be in the early stages of World War III. Consider the evidence. Russia is fighting NATO-backed Ukraine. Israel is battling Iran and its proxies across the Middle East. The U.S. has launched airstrikes against Houthis in Yemen and attacked Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran retaliated by striking a U.S. airbase in Qatar. Meanwhile, China wages economic warfare against the U.S. while preparing for a potential Taiwan invasion by 2027. North Korea sends soldiers to fight alongside Russia in Ukraine. The collective West pours weapons and military aid into Ukraine, enabling strikes on Russian territory. And now Russian jets are probing NATO airspace with increasing frequency. Maybe World War III isn't coming. Maybe it's already here, just not in the form we expected. Instead of massive tank battles and naval engagements, we're seeing proxy conflicts, cyber warfare, economic sanctions, and airspace violations that test the boundaries of international law. The Baltic region has become ground zero for this new form of warfare. August 13th was far from the first Russian incursion. Just days earlier, Hungarian jets scrambled against similar threats. In April, UK Royal Air Force Typhoons intercepted Russian jets 3 times in 2 days over the Baltic Sea. In June, Germany scrambled fighters against another Russian surveillance aircraft. This isn't random harassment, it's systematic intelligence gathering. Russia is probing NATO responses, testing reaction times, and mapping defensive capabilities. The Baltic states of Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia know their targets. All 3 are former Soviet republics, and Putin's justification for invading Ukraine partially rests on historical claims to former Soviet territory. The BBC reported in March 2025 that Baltic states are actively Putin-proofing themselves, fearing they could be next if Russia succeeds in Ukraine. Estonia has installed Dragon's Teeth anti-tank defenses on its bridge to Russia. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte warned that Russia might attack Estonia within 5 to 7 years if NATO doesn't increase defense spending. Here's what makes that threat terrifying. Any attack on Estonia would trigger Article 5 of the NATO Charter, obligating all members to defend it. As Rutte told the New York Times, "We already have all the plans in place if Estonia will be attacked, and the Russians know this, and our response will be devastating." So when Russian jets probe Baltic airspace, they're not just gathering intelligence, they're testing NATO's resolve. Putin knows his jets will be intercepted. He probably didn't expect Italian F-35s to do it, but he knew NATO would respond. This is performative intimidation designed to terrorize Baltic states while probing for weaknesses. What happened on August 13th was more than an intercept. It was a demonstration. NATO showed Russia that its Soviet-era jets are hopelessly outmatched by modern technology. The F-35s didn't need to fire a shot to prove their superiority. Their mere presence sent a message that should terrify every Russian pilot: you are not invisible. You are not safe. And you are completely outgunned. When viewed as an isolated incident, this intercept is just another day in the Baltic. But when considered as part of Russia's broader pattern of aggression, airspace violations, and World War III rhetoric, it becomes something much more significant. This might be the prelude to a conflict that reshapes global power forever. The question isn't whether World War III is coming, it's whether we're already fighting it. Russian jets probing NATO airspace. Chinese soldiers captured fighting alongside Russian forces in Ukraine. Iranian proxies attacking Western interests across the Middle East. Economic warfare between superpowers. Cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. Maybe the Economic Times wasn't being hyperbolic after all. Maybe we're witnessing the opening moves of a conflict that will define the next century. And maybe those Italian F-35s intercepting Russian jets over the Baltic Sea will be remembered as the moment when the world's most advanced military technology faced off against the remnants of a dying empire. But here's the thing about dying empires. They're often at their most dangerous when they have nothing left to lose. Putin's grip on power faces unprecedented challenges. His military is crumbling in Ukraine. His economy is collapsing under sanctions. His people are growing restless. Which brings us to our next story. Moscow coup whispers are exploding, and Putin is about to be betrayed. The Russian leader who sent those jets into NATO airspace might not be in power much longer. Discover what's happening in our next video, and remember to subscribe to WARFRONT Intel for more coverage of the conflict that's reshaping our world. Because whether we call it World War III or something else entirely, one thing is certain. The age of great power competition has returned, and the skies over the Baltic Sea have become its newest battlefield.